For the
The
prosecution.
truth is that when the first stop was, the driver's license was valid. The first stop was, the driver's license was valid still. It was just the automobile that was not compliant.
Okay, you have about 30 more seconds if you want to add anything else.
It wasn't that my license was revoked or suspended at that time during the first stop. It was valid. I did not have it on me. I didn't produce it, but I did not lie to those police officers about anything. And we all did our job.
Okay. And that's why we're here today, is to determine whether you're guilty or not guilty. That'll be a fact issue for the jury. Any other issues for the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And so I have given, it's 8:20. We started these argument at 8:08, but then I gave Mr. Velasquez 3 minutes. Additional time. There was some issues regarding the court's advisement regarding contempt. So Mr. Velasquez, I'll give you about 10 minutes if you'd like to make a record on any pretrial issues. Go ahead. And that would be at 8:31. We will finish your argument. Thank you.
Well, I'm not arguing. I just came here to make the special appearance, and I had come in. Did anyone tell you I had came and tried to get a little more time to prepare? Did anyone tell you that it took me a lot more than a usual amount of time to get the discovery? And then I had the same issue with wanting to file over with the clerk. I couldn't.
All right, folks, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into a courtroom showdown that's equal parts absurdity and spectacle. We're following a sovereign citizen, yes, the classic "laws don't apply to me" type, who's arguing that God's laws trump every statute in the book. And guess what? It's his jury trial, the big stage, and it doesn't go anywhere near how he expects. We've got objected to evidence, procedural headaches, and a courtroom full of eye rolls. Throughout this video, we'll break down every outrageous claim, every contradiction, and every jaw-dropping moment. Trust me, this is not your typical legal proceeding, it's a masterclass in chaos. By the end, you'll be asking yourself, how did this even make it to trial? And that's just the start. Let's get into it.
I still don't understand what code we're using. What code are we using to make me go against my faith? What law what code are we using to create an altered version of my name, and other than the way it's supposed to be properly written? I've come here every time, and if I had more time to prepare, I would have better questions for you right now. But I didn't come here to make accusations. I didn't come here to make arguments. I came here just to clear my name, and that's all I ever came here for. And I've said the same thing to all the judges, and maybe I said it. I should have come in a different way, or said it in a different way, or talked to someone privately. And I did engage with a bunch of people before anything ever proceeded the first time, and tried to work something out before I became an embarrassment or a belligerent, or I still don't comprehend how I wound up being pro se in Latin when we're reading and writing in English. And if you don't understand Latin and you don't, can I ask why we use Latin and English on one document? That's my question. I don't have anything against the judicial system or lawyers or the police. I haven't hurt anyone. There's no one coming forward to say that I'd hurt them and I did anything, even if it was someone saying he's uninsured or whatever. If they were affected by an uninsured driver, that person is still not coming forward. And I really don't understand how they can be a defendant and the people at the same time. How did they do that? I'm confused. But all I can do is ask questions. I'm not here to poke at people. I'm not here to say, you need to tell me your personal business. You need to tell me why you were doing this and why you were doing that. I was going to the store to get a part for my mother's dryer. That's the reason I had to get over all the way in that lane, is because the appliance store is on that side of the street. I did not know he was behind me until I was in the parking lot out of my car. And at that point, I'm looking back and I'm like, okay, what's going on? I'm trying to get in there before the store closes. That's all I was trying to do. And that store was, if I would went to a different store that was open, I would have got in. That store closed right at 4:30 or 4. That's when I was there trying to get that part to fix the dryer, to wash the clothes. I wasn't out working for Domino's Pizza or delivering cement or anything engaged with being employed to operate. And even at that point, I had returned my license, like I told you many times. So I was not a volunteered driver. I unvolunteered and said, way before it was suspended,
Here's where the drama begins to simmer. Notice how Mr. Velasquez insists his license was valid, but he didn't have it with him. To anyone outside the sovereign citizen bubble, that's a small hiccup, but in his world, it's a moral dilemma, apparently. And the judge? Calm, concise, trying to steer this ship through the fog of nonsense. This moment is a perfect example of how these trials often hinge on basic legal facts that the defendant refuses to acknowledge. And let's be real, viewers, how many of us have argued over paperwork like this, but thankfully, without claiming divine exemption?
because just based on what my interpretation of I don't think it's a wrong interpretation of the federal definitions of what driving is, motor vehicle is, a person is. I just don't want to, I am not those. I am none of those. And I don't see how I could be forced to identify as that and forced to sign something that puts me back in commerce. I was staying out of commerce and not interfering with commerce and trying to rebuild my life and make everyone whole in my life and fix everything that the last time I was in court affected. And so I'm not trying to avoid justice. I'm not trying to avoid doing what's right at all. And I wouldn't. I don't think it's, revenge does not satisfy me. And I've told you from the very beginning that I did not come here to ruin anybody's life or anybody's day. I just wanted to clear my name because it's a good name, and that is really all I have. That's all anyone has. And my reputation is being affected by this, and my mother's health is affected by this, but I'm not lying to her. I'm not like going home and saying, these guys, I'm saying the principle of the thing, she's doing her job, and she believes. I've told everybody this. You may never have heard it, but I've told everybody. I know you're doing your job. I know you do good things. I've seen all these people who can't govern themselves, and it's dangerous. And they need to fear the sword that you wield for good reason. And I understand all of that. And I wasn't coming to the state and saying that they owed me anything either. I was just saying, I just want to fix my name. And they didn't respond, so I had to take it upon myself, and not to take the law into my own hands, but to take my life in my own hands and say, how did I get in this situation? How did I get in that situation? It's my fault. If anything's wrong with my life in the situations, it's my fault. God is good. God didn't let me down. I'm not depressed. My life is still full of joy, regardless of what goes on. And I'm neutral. I'm not on anyone's side because I have to care about everyone's final destination, more than who's right or who's wrong. I can see why they're right. I can see why you're right, and I can see why I'm right. And I can't understand why the other three men and women in this courtroom.
Now things get spicy. Mr. Velasquez is asserting that arguing in court would somehow violate his faith. At this point, it's almost hard to tell if we're in a courtroom or a philosophical debate club. The irony is dripping. Plenty of people of faith navigate legal proceedings every day without invoking divine law as a shield. What he's really doing here is trying to buy extra prep time while claiming moral high ground. And honestly, this is where the audience gets hooked, because you can practically feel the courtroom collectively raising an eyebrow, waiting to see how far this will spiral.
Doing my ministry. I seriously have attempted to, because I understand that it is your occupation to take care of this country and the people that live here. And
You have 30 more seconds.
I respect that. Man to man, or however you would take it most respectfully, but I just believe that we are the same. We are the same. These accusations and I don't have the intent. But I apologize for wasting your time, and I apologize that I took it this far. And with both, in the time that I've been in your courtroom, I've seen enough to know that, you do need to stand up like you do, and you do need to do it like you do. But in this one case, where a man has done nothing but his due diligence to try to correct it, in this one case, I'm innocent.
So you have a right to trial. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you another minute just to make any record, because you mentioned a continuance. So I want to ask you what those grounds for the continuance is, and then I'll ask for the prosecution's response.
I don't need it. I was just trying to be more prepared, but really, I didn't come here to ever cause controversy. I just handled it the way that I handled it, honestly and truthfully, without, because I am born again. I know firsthand when I was born. I know my date of nativity. I know who my father is. I know that I have to, in order to encourage others to have a conscience, or show them that they can have a conscience that guides their decisions, I have to be a good example for that. And it's not against the government. It's not against the police. It's just against the principle of, in my situation, I just want to be who God made me to be. And I don't understand. I was just pulled over because I look suspicious. If I didn't look suspicious, if there was a way that the state could make me not look suspicious,
Okay.
I don't think we'd have a problem.
Okay. And then I just want to clarify, because some of your statements sounded like you wanted to plead guilty today to the charges, but then other statements were saying you're not guilty. So I just want to be clear that you're ready to proceed to trial today, or are you asking to plead guilty to the charges? Now, I'm not asking you to violate any of your morals, but I just need to make sure that that's clear before we're about to go get 18 people to come up here and hear this trial. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that you're ready to proceed, and that those are just employees.
Ah yes, the classic sovereign citizen conundrum, Latin in legal documents. Mr. Velasquez is genuinely confused and frustrated by why documents use Latin and English. To him, this isn't just legal jargon, it's a personal affront. And then there's the altered name angle, which he treats like a cosmic injustice. For anyone familiar with law, this is a procedural norm, but for our protagonist, it's a full-blown conspiracy. This is one of those moments where you can't help but marvel at the mental gymnastics required to take standard legal practice and turn it into existential horror. Viewers, what do you think, overthinking or just pure disbelief?
And is that correct? You proceeding on all three? Okay. I'll give 15 minutes for jury selection for each side. So we went through an extensive record previously about the process for trial, so I'm not going to go over that again. But I am going to allow for each side to have 15 minutes to speak to the jury. I'll give each side a 2-minute warning once they are in the for each of the things that you'll be speaking to on those times. So 2-minute warning for the voir dire or the jury selection. I'll give 10 minutes for opening, and I'll give a 1-minute warning for that. And then I will give if we're starting closings before 4 o'clock, I think it's a pretty simple case. I'm going to give 10 minutes for closing argument for each side. And again, I'll give a 1-minute warning for that. So for jury selection, you'll exercise your 3 peremptories. So you can excuse a juror, and I'll explain this as we go forward. But you'll get do you all have seating charts?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll get you a seating chart, and you'll exercise your peremptories with the people that are called the presumptive panel. So if they're the 1 through 6, if everyone's happy with 1 through 6, those are the people that are going to be on our jury. But for each peremptory, if someone exercise a peremptory, for example, if they kick number 6, then number 7 will be on our presumptive panel. So you can either accept as situated or use your peremptory. We go back and forth until either party has exhausted their peremptories or has accepted as situated. I can answer questions about that procedure once you see it. And so I think that is the court's. I do not allow for long speaking objections, so you can say objection hearsay, objection expert testimony. If it requires a bench conference, then you can ask for a bench conference, although if we need to move the trial along, I may decline to have a bench conference. What I will tell you is that at every break, I give you an opportunity to make that record, so that additional record will be deemed contemporaneous from the point that you have made that.
Now here's where we get a peek into his personal life, and somehow, it's heartbreaking and absurd at the same time. Mr. Velasquez is arguing that all he wanted was to go buy a dryer part for his mom. That's the real-world consequence of this trial, the human stakes. But then he layers it with his claims of staying out of commerce and returning his license, which is, well, let's say creatively interpreted. These moments are fascinating because they mix ordinary life with extreme ideological stances. Audience challenge: do you sympathize with his intent, or is it too entangled in legal nonsense to matter?